Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport. And I know I am incredibly sunburned. Unfortunately, even with factor 50 on, I burn very quickly. I actually burn quicker than a Formula E car burns energy, which brings us on to the main point of today, that Valencia was one of the most insane, messy races I've ever watched in any series. And seeing as we have so much craziness to talk about, let's not waste any time. So subscribe if you can, and let's begin.
Welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport.
Honestly, it's hard to know what to say in these situations. How does this happen? The teams probably hire the best mathematics experts to work out the minutest details, to work out how to get to the end of the race with 0.1% energy, to make sure nothing is wasted. And yet, in this race, pretty much everyone ran out of energy. It's madness. The money they must pay to not do this. They should ask for a refund. Now, the reason for this was there were so many safety car incidents, and every time there is a safety car, they reduce the energy. It looked like the teams got caught out, more was taken off than expected, and everyone got screwed over. It was a shame because Da Costa led the race and looked good for a win and get back to championship winning form. Instead, he ended up not scoring any points. Nick De Vries took the win from Nico Müller, who probably didn't expect to finish second in this race. He's not even sure he broke the top 20 at any other point in it. We saw both Neos stop. Most of the field was disqualified. Some people were very lucky to score points. Overall, it was utter madness. Now, this may have been because it was a wet race as well, and there were lots of incidents. Andre Lotterer seemed to forget he was a Formula E driver and instead thought he was on the set of Mad Max, deciding to take out pretty much everyone. First Buemi, and then himself and Mortara. So, after 5 races, Lotterer had no points. Buemi had another bad weekend as well. In fact, most of the big names seemed to suffer. Neither Jaguar scored points. Mercedes really lucked into a good result, with Nick De Vries taking the win, which he deserved because he was in second most of the race anyway. Van Dorn, who didn't have a great race, came up to finish third. So, it was Mercedes 1 and 2 in the championship up to that point. We saw Maxi Günther crash again. We saw Sergio Setti Camara crash out. It was crazy. Rene Rast scored good points as well. And Cassidy scored his first points of the year. So there were some good drives in the field. On to race 2, and we had a surprise winner in Jake Dennis. Apparently the rule was that you did not want to lead this race, and no one told Jake this because he led the entire thing from start to finish. It was a great drive. Pretty much unexpected of him, but what it means is that a driver who was 23rd coming into the championship this weekend is now 8th after a single 8th place and a win. So that shows you how inconsistent the field is in Formula E. So if you're not watching it, why not? This is the most exciting racing series out there at the moment. Honestly, every race something happens, and most of the time several somethings happen. So Mercedes in the second race did not score any points. In fact, it was a topsy-turvy qualifying with the Neos and the Mahindras up the front of the field. Dragon weren't too low either, they were in the mid-pack. Whereas the Virgins, the Jaguars and the Mercedes right at the back of the field. Buemi had another hard race. He was my title-winning pick this year, and he left Valencia not scoring any more points, which means the guy I chose to be first is currently 20th in the championship. It's embarrassing. I should really stop doing predictions because it's one thing to say Da Costa's going to finish 16th and he goes to first. Buemi, I said first, and I'm not even sure he's going to break for top 15. So pretty much the same actually, maybe not worse. It's still bad. Lucas Di Grassi had another bad weekend as well. But Rene Rast, he did a really good job and he's climbed pretty high in the championship. I think he was in 5th or 6th. So, I mean, Rene Rast is probably one of your star drivers from this weekend. Wehrlein had scored points at every round. going into Valencia. He got no points finishes this weekend either, so it's really hurt his championship chances. Vries had a bad weekend and dropped back. The Jaguars didn't score any points this weekend. It's just a really crazy topsy-turvy field. Neos and Dragons have been scoring points, which last year either didn't happen or very rarely happened. It's entirely hard to call. Lotterer woke up from his Mad Max nightmare and scored second place in the second race, which is actually a good result for him this year. Hopefully he can get a few more before the end of the championship and be a little bit higher, because I think he's still only in the mid-pack even after that. Norman Nato once again put in a good drive. I feel bad saying he wasn't very good at Rome, because he actually did finish in the podium, finished places and got disqualified. This time he finished second but got penalised for hitting Alex Lynn. So he still finally scored points. He was in 6th. Everyone has actually scored points now, which is, again, really weird. Alex Lynn had a really good drive in the second race. Probably should have been second and challenging Dennis closer than anyone else actually managed. Unfortunately, he got punted round by NATO. So he still scored, I think, 4th or 3rd. Vern had an average weekend where he scored points in both races, but not big points. So he's still only really in the midfield. Da Costa had an atrocious weekend. He didn't score any points either. We may have scored points in the first ones, but not many. He got penalised in the second for a problem with his attack mode, which I don't think was working. So I don't really know what happened to him. Van Dorn in the second race probably had a chance to take the championship lead, because De Vries was way back in like 17th. Van Dorn was climbing through the field. Tried to move on Buemi but didn't come off. Should have backed out. It was entirely his fault, but he hit the tyre wall and retired from the race. Overall, it leaves us with this unanswerable question of who's going to be champion. I said Buemi, but I would now change that to one of the Mercedes drivers, who I knew were going to be strong. They're first and second in the championship, but they do seem to be at least consistent in one race every weekend, whereas no one else can even pull that off. So, De Vries or Van Dorn, it's entirely hard to pick between them. And now the Formula E calendar has got longer as well, with Mexico having 2 rounds. So this is no longer the halfway point in the championship. We have another 7 races to go. Honestly, what else happens over the course of this season, I can't say. It's honestly so manic, it's hard to keep up. Who's going to be champion? I'm going to say Mercedes. But who else is going to be behind them? I still think Jaguar look good. Virgin actually doing really well, which surprises me. René Rast on his own is doing well. Lucas Di Grassi is really struggling. So those 6 drivers I can sort of see being at the top. Everywhere else, there's people who can step up their game. Buemi's still got time, hopefully. Jean-Eric Verne, you can never count him out. Oliver Rowland's having a good season. He's had some really good drives, just not had the end results. And beyond that, there's so many people who could upset in every race. Alexander Sims had a good first race. It didn't pan out for him. So honestly, this championship is insane and really hard to call. But if you're not watching it, definitely check Formula E out, because I do think it's the best racing we're getting in 2021 so far. Everything else this weekend I haven't watched yet. Super Formula I've started but not finished. I've watched the first day of WRC but not the rest. IndyCar I think it's only just started, so I haven't caught up with that yet. So I'll probably do something midweek if there's anything to cover in any of those. So I'll leave you with Formula E is completely mental. I can't believe Jake Dennis actually managed to win a race in the series after only 6 attempts. This was only his 6th race in Formula E. He's one of the youngest drivers in the field. It was a great result for him, and I'm very, very happy for him. I'd be amazed if he gets a second win this year, but you can never tell in Formula E. So thank you for watching. Leave your thoughts on the races down below. Love to hear what you think of Formula E. Remember to subscribe. We've got an ever-growing community now. And with that, have a good one.